Good afternoon. Appreciate you being here. Wrapping up practice. Good week, especially after the bye week. Health-wise, we've got a couple guys that I think I've mentioned most of them on the press conference the other day. Don't know anything else that's popped up since then, but that being said, open to questions.
Status of Alex Forsyth?
He looks good. He looks ready to go. So, had a good week so far.
Is Joe going to be able to coach on Friday?
We'll see. Don't know yet.
You mentioned obviously the depth and freshman at running back, Mario.
Yes.
Confident as you are in all their abilities, certainly. Pass protection is always something for freshmen. It's always a question, and they haven't been asked to do a lot of it just yet.
Sure.
How far have they progressed from where they were maybe in the summer to now after the reps that they have had, practice reps, et cetera, and pass
We
pro?
feel their game ready. I mean, the way that we rotate and the way we configure the reps from camp all the way till now, they're pretty evenly split up. So those guys have had a truckload of reps, and they performed well to where we feel they're game ready. So there's no hesitation or reservation there. So we'll let it eat.
At this point in the season, just where were you assess where your defense is at this point?
Some good moments, some not so good moments. A work in progress. There's some moments that are absolutely awesome, and others where it needs a lot of work. So inconsistent, but hungry, driven. Guys have really worked hard, had a good week of practice. We expect to continue to improve as the season goes on.
And to follow up on that, just what do you need to do as far as getting your sack totals up a little bit more?
What do we need to do in terms of
improving the sack total, like getting to the quarterback?
You mean pressure on
Yes.
the quarterback? Well, when it comes to your one-on-one battles, you got to win those, right? You devise and also scheme up some pressures that challenge protections so you can get guys free. Football, not at this level, you don't get many of those, right? There's always a hat for a hat, so you got to win those. You got to cover, and sometimes covered sacks are a big part of it as well. So all in all, it's got to come together, collectively improving every bit of the pieces and how it fits together so we can get to the quarterback, affect him more, and not only sack him, but pressure him into making some poor decisions.
Along those lines, how impactful will be Bradyn Swinson being back, getting those pressures? He's only been available with KT for one game all year so far.
Sure, well, I was messing with him out there today. We'll see how rusty he is, right? It's been a little while. And credit to him. You always assess players, their mentality or whatnot, and he's a guy that when you assess him, all he's been trying to do is get back on the field. Like, you had to hold him back. That's really appreciated. Those are the kind of guys that we want here, and he is all about that. So really proud of him and the way that he's taken on his rehabilitation, ever since his injury, and so he's ready to go. He looked great today. He really did. So we'll see how he does, but he's ready for a heavy rep load if need be.
It's shaping up where in the front seven, both in the first half and obviously once KT gets back in the second half, you'll be as healthy as you've been other than the first quarter of the game, obviously the loss of the linebacker. But front seven-wise, you'll be basically at full stock once KT gets back in the second half. From what you've seen in practice, how much does this look like what you were expecting to be?
Yeah, I don't know if we're all the way there health-wise. Obviously we don't disclose everything, but some things are obvious. So, but I think we're getting there. I think we're improving. Certainly the knockback at the line of scrimmage looked better, and it has to improve, right? The way that you strike blockers is going to set the tone on how you fit your gaps and how you play the run game, which is going to, of course, affect the ability of a team to either keep you off balance or make them one-dimensional. So we got a ways to go, but we see improvement, and the biggest improvement, I think, is in the way we finish reps. And we have to continue to push and stress that and demand that. And you can't demand that enough. And you can't be sensitive. You cannot be, not in this sport. This is about confronting and demanding. Guys have pushed each other and themselves. They've held each other accountable, and coaches have done the same. And we're holding coaches accountable to hold their position players accountable as well. So all in all, I just see steady improvement and growth.
Popo and Dorless have been rated as the top D tackles in the conference by Pro Football Focus. I know you don't know those rankings and whatnot, but what do you feel like those guys are doing to kind of garnish that accomplishment?
I don't know exactly what that means. I know that as it relates to us, that we see tremendous productivity at the interior D-line position, and I see our linebackers. Obviously, Noah's playing at a super high level. All those other guys are coming around and feeling more and more comfortable. And when the guys up front are reliable and accountable and consistent, it allows for better linebacker play. So we see all those things starting to come together. But again, those guys, you can push Brandon really, really hard. He pushes himself really hard. Popo's come a long way, and I'm going to push him even harder because he's got to come even more. And he's got it in him. And as to your point, the system or whatever rated them shows that their production is growing, and we need to get even more out of those guys.
He was a name that popped up several times earlier in the season, but just now 6 weeks in after the bye, like where's Jackson Powers Johnson in his kind of development and being able to get on the field for you guys?
Sure. Well, hopefully you've had a chance to zero in on him. He's a really powerful guy. He brings a lot of thump, a lot of power at the line of scrimmage, creates movement, displaces, the guys up front, and does a really good job understanding what we're trying to do. I think you saw early this season was thrown into a very important part of a game in Fresno, and we never skipped a beat, snapped the ball like he's been doing it for a couple of years. So his impact has been very important, and his future here and then after college, he's got a huge future. He's a real one.
Has that changed? Has your guys' view of his ceiling changed since he's gotten here, or was that kind of like what you guys anticipated from him when you were scouting him as a recruit?
Oh, I think the way that we've been recruiting, our roster is changing more and more every year. We hope to get to a level one day where we feel like that ceiling is that way for everybody. He's one we definitely felt had a really, really high ceiling. His body just keeps growing. When we recruited him, it was a tremendous projection by Coach Mirabal because he was 235 pounds. And I remember looking at him going, Al, are you sure? And then he's like, no, and you start studying, growth and size and growth potential. And it was there because of the way that he attacks the offseason, the way he attacks the strength and conditioning program. Very serious about nutrition. And, he comes from a great program. And program that's won, I think, 47 straight games up until a week ago. So had all the makings of it. So, we're never going to say, hey, we knew he was going to be that, but we felt that he was going to be a special player.
How difficult is it to assess that growth potential of just the body? You said he was 230.
Sure.
Like, do you have a trick that you use to just guess that this guy's going to blossom into the three?
You just never know. You never know how things are going to go. In fact, my old line coach used to say that the most imperfect science in the world is recruiting, because you have to project. We live in a world of projection when it comes to assessing talent, right? And identifying who, by the time they get here, 2 years after being here, in their senior or junior year, are going to be blank. It's very difficult because so many things play into it. Size and growth potential is one of them. Some guys are late bloomers. Some guys max out early. Some guys get driven more than ever once they get here. Some guys, it becomes really difficult. We've seen it in all shapes, sizes, circumstances, and situations. And you do your best to do your homework, especially what's between the ears and what's here, that matches that ability they show on tape to give yourself the best opportunity to get the guys that fit.
You guys are among the best in the country at limiting explosive passing plays. I think Trevin Clark might be the best in the conference at creating them. The importance of knowing where he is and kind of that matchup.
Really good football player. Bottom line is he understands the scheme. He's got great ability, very unique. His instincts. I guess the best way to put it, no one's given this guy enough credit for how he plays the game, how he understands the scheme. I think he makes it look easy, and he makes it difficult to scheme against. So a guy you always got to be aware of. They have several players like that, so we're looking forward to a great challenge.
How have Mike Hale and DJ responded from Stanford, where part of playing cornerback is you win some, you lose some, it happens, but DJ in particular just early in his career hasn't faced a situation where, a late big play like that, so just how have they responded? Sure,
you got resiliency, right? They've shown it. They have, and we won't let them have it any other way. I mean, that's the way the game goes, and, it's all about how you play that next play anyways. I think they understand that. And more importantly, they've shown it in practice. They've shown it with their attitude. Their teammates have done a really good job saying that this is football. Other people have good players too, and other people have guys that want to win too. And sometimes there's other circumstances involved also. So I think they've responded really well.
I think when Keith first came back from injury, you described him as rusty. Did the bye week kind of help him knock some of that off?
Yeah, and I'm on him hard, man, because he deserves that. He needs that. He's a great young man. He wants to be great, and he works hard. And I got to find a way to constantly just bring out the best in him because we're counting on him. He's had a really good couple of weeks of practice. Expect him to play really, really well in the coming weeks.
Was that from a physical standpoint or more just a scheme standpoint when he was kind of rusty first coming back?
I think even experienced players, when you miss practice time, even if it's a couple of days, I think it shows up on game day. You'd be surprised over the years. Every place I've had a chance to coach at, great player that's banged up. Well, he can't practice Tuesday, Wednesday, but he'll be ready by Saturday. And Saturday comes around and like, man, he don't look like that great player, because the reps and the speed of the game are real. And, you know, every single week, teams that you play you have to make unique adjustments. You know, you have your base concepts that you practice, and then every week there has to be some type of tweak. And if they can't practice that, it typically shows up. So I think now that he's been able to practice for a couple weeks straight and really, really just dive into our schemes, you've seen a full-speed player.
All right, thanks, Coach.
All right, guys, thank you very much. Have a good day.